everybody. So today we're going to be talking about section 6.4, which is the distribution of natural energy resources. The learning objective for today is that you can identify where natural energy resources occur, and the essential knowledge that you're going to gain is where these natural energy resources are distributed globally and some of the geologic history that results in these resources being formed. So first, we're just going to start by generally kind of going over where we have fossil fuel energy reserves. Now, you definitely don't need to memorize this list. I would recommend being aware of maybe kind of the top couple contributors globally, but at most, this would be like a single, maybe multiple choice question on the test. So please don't spend time and energy going and memorizing things, but just kind of be generally aware of where these things might be found. So we're going to start out by looking at coal. Now, coal, if we're looking at our current consumption rates based on the current reserves that we're aware of, we probably have about 100 to 150 years left in the amount of coal that is available to us globally. The top countries that have coal are going to be the United States as number one, then Russia, China, and afterwards Australia. The next one is going to be natural gas. And at this point, we think we have about 50 to 60-ish years of the reserves of this. And it's mostly going to be found in Russia, Iran, Qatar, the United States, and Saudi Arabia. Then our last one is going to be oil. Currently, right now, we have about 50-ish years if we keep going at the rate of consumption that we're currently going at. And the countries that we have with that are going to be Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Canada, and Iraq. So we're going to first look at this process of fracking and shale gas. So fracking, which actually stands for hydraulic fracking, is going to be a method of natural gas extraction. So natural gas is going to be trapped layers into the earth in semi-permeable sedimentary rock layers, such as shale. And the way that you release this natural gas is going to be by pumping down in, pushing water down there. And then this pressurized water is going to crack the rock, which is going to release the gases. And then you're going to be using this pressure in order to send it up so that we can then harvest it. Now, one of the reasons why fracking is occurring is fracking is going to make it so that natural gas from the shale rock is going to increase and extend our supply of natural gas. If you look at this diagram here, around 2008 is going to be when we had fracking starting to be a thing. It's a newer technology that we use. And if you look at after 2008 in the United States, the amount of natural gas reserves that we have access to is going to be much higher. And it's going to extend this supply. So think about the years of potential reserves that we have left for these fossil fuels. That's assuming our current rate of consumption, and it's also assuming our current technology. However, we do have the option for future technologies to be coming in that are going to make it so that we actually can extend our abilities, because we're going to be able to get to fossil fuels that we previously did not have access to. So fracking is going to be an example of this. So because of this technology of fracking, we now are going to have more potential natural gas available to us, and it's going to extend those reserves that previously would have been at smaller amounts. So although we do have technologies that will probably be developed in the future that will make it to where we can extend these reserves, it is important to remember that fossil fuels are still a non-renewable resource, and eventually they will be depleted. However, at this point, it is still very profitable, and these economic profits are still going to drive the extraction and use of these in companies, or in countries. So this short-term profit is going to be what still drives these countries to do this, even though we all recognize eventually we're going to run out, but there's a profit on it now, so we might as well capitalize it, tends to be the viewpoint. Now, additionally, in addition to new technologies potentially making it to where we can do more fossil fuel extraction, there also are reserves that have been discovered, but as of right now, they're not really harvestable based on the current technologies that we have. So if you look at this diagram here, this is going to be some different countries and the global shale gas reserves that they have, which shale gas is how you're getting the natural gas from fracking. And the dark parts on these bar graphs are going to be ways that it's proven that we have the technology to actually extract those reserves. But if you notice the lighter gray, technically they exist. They could be technically recoverable. Just at this point, we don't really have the feasibility to do that, which obviously could change with future technologies that can come. And so this is just kind of something to be aware of when we are looking at the countries that have these reserves. This is a potential untapped economic benefit for these countries. And so these countries, because fossil fuels are profitable, this is going to be something that they are going to be looking into how to get these because they want the profits from them. So another place where we can get some fossil fuels, specifically oil, is going to be in tar and oil sands. So these are going to be areas where we have bitumen deposits where the crude oil can be recovered, but because bitumen is kind of this thick, sticky, semi-solid form of petroleum, it's going to take a lot of water and energy inputs in order to actually get the usable petroleum out of it. And so it's going to be definitely a more expensive process. Now, Canada, specifically the Alberta region, is where we actually have the world's largest oil sands reserve. So this is a potential economic profit for Canada in the future. Now, just like with fracking, this technology of the tar and oil sands extraction, when we have the technology to do this, which we currently do have that technology, but especially as it gets even better and better potentially, this is going to once again extend the world supply of crude oil. If you look at the diagram there, when production in the past 20-ish years, we have seen this production of the oil sands grow exponentially. And that is because Canada is trying to capitalize on the fact that fossil fuels are still very much a profitable business at this point and for the foreseeable future. And so they are able to extend the world supply. They are able to have profits of it. So therefore, they are going to do more and more of it. Now, these notes are from 6.3, so please don't rewrite them. But I just want to kind of re-reference back in the scope of what we're talking about here. So this is what we talked about in 6.3 for how it is that we are going to get petroleum from tar sands. It is going to take lots of water being heated. It's going to need to melt the bitumen. You're going to need to separate the oil from all the sand and clay. And so it's very costly, water intensive, energy intensive. And so you might be wondering, well, why would a country want to go through all of that, especially since it's not very environmentally friendly? And so again, a reminder, which you don't have to write down, but just a reminder of all of the different things that the hydrocarbons from petroleum are used in. A lot of times we think that it's literally just for the oil in cars, and it's used for a lot of fuels, but it is also used for things like asphalt in the road. It's used in making plastic, which if you're aware of how many things in the world are made of plastic, that right there could keep the fossil fuel industry going for a ridiculous amount of time. So we're not just talking about like, oh, okay, well, switch to electric cars and then we won't need this and then the problem is solved. So much depends on these fossil fuels that even though it's not environmentally friendly, it is not going to be it's going to be very expensive. It's going to be using water. It's going to be using energy. These countries that have access to these are going to want to go through with it because it is still very profitable and it's something that there's a lot of supply in the globe for. So just keep that in mind when we are thinking about these countries and the lengths that they will go to and the technology that they will try to develop in order to be able to extract these fossil fuels and gain a profit from them. All right, so this is going to be your practice FRQ for 6.4. So I want you to look at this diagram here and identify a region of the United States that is likely to be a large producer of natural gas. And then I want you to describe the geological features associated with natural gas reserves. So that's your practice FRQ for 6.4, and those are your notes on 6.4.